Today on Ancient Rome Live, we're going to explore one of the best preserved buildings from Imperial Rome, the Curia Julia, the Roman Senate House, famed for the meetings and debates by some of the greatest orators like Cicero. This particular version of the Curia is over 1,700 years old. We'll explore its long history back in the Regal period and all the way up to the Fascist era. Inside the Curia Julia, absolutely extraordinary, from the 3rd century AD. Still standing. Located in ancient Rome, in the Roman Forum, the political, cultural, and religious center of Rome. It's still standing next to the Basilica Aemilia. Today, it's flanked by the 17th century church of Saints Luca and Martina. The open space in front of it was occupied by the Comitium, the traditional open-air assembly place of the citizens of Rome. Beyond it is the Arch of Septimius Severus, and behind the Curia is the Forum of Caesar, tying this building into the political legacy of Rome's greatest names. In the Regal period, before the Curia Julia, the view was very different. The Roman Senate met in the Curia Hostilia, founded by the king Tullius Hostilius in the 7th century BC, an ancient space deeply tied to Rome's early monarchy and early republic. In front of it was the outdoor meeting place, the Comitium, lined with steps. Portions of the Comitium were divided into specific purposes, like the rostra, speaker's platform, and the burial space known as the lapis niger, the black stone. Toward the end of the Republic came the construction of the Curia Cornelia, built under Cornelius Faustulus Sulla, the first general to march on Rome, a nod to his enormous power in 80 BC. Was it a rebuilding of the Curia Hostilia, or what is a new, secondary contiguous site? The debate wages on, but it was here that Cicero made his career in the 60s BC, including his orations against Catiline in 63. This structure, too, was lost, consumed by the flames during the funeral of the demagogue Publius Clodius Pulcher in 52 BC, when rioters torched it with his body inside. Julius Caesar constructed a new Senate house, grander, more aligned with his vision for a renewed Rome. He moved it further from the chaotic Comitium towards his new Forum Iulium. He began construction in 44 BC. Of course, Caesar wouldn't live to see it completed. In fact, as it was being constructed, he met with the Senate on the Ides of March in the Curia Pompeiana, where he was assassinated. It was Augustus, his heir, who finished the Curia around 29 BC, naming it Curia Julia in his honor. It was no longer the Senate of the Republic. This was now the House of Empire. We even see the Curia Julia on Augustan coins, fronted by its distinctive porch, with a large door and a high pediment and 3 windows. And on the roof, 3 acroterial statues. It became a symbol of institutional power, but also transformation. Inside, Augustus placed a venerable statue of the goddess Victoria from Tarentum, which we see depicted on contemporary coinage. Step inside today, and you're experiencing a building that is a copy of the Augustan Curia. Today, what you see is of the same dimensions, 31 meters high, with an interior of 25 by 17 meters. It was rebuilt in the reign of Diocletian after the devastating fire of Carinus in 283 AD. The interior preserved a row of wide steps on either side to accommodate the seats of 300 senators. There's a raised platform opposite the main entrance for the emperor when in Rome. The space was once lined with marble, and some of the stuccoed panels beneath the exterior pediment are still preserved. The doors are a real standout feature. The magnificent, ornate 3rd century bronze doors are masterpieces, but they're no longer here. Now they're in St. John Lateran, We only have copies in place today. By the 7th century AD, the Curia had a new function. Pope Honorius I converted it into a church, St. Adriano al Foro, in 630. But who was St. Hadrian? He was a Roman soldier and Christian martyr, a symbol of conversion from pagan power to Christian authority. The walls were stuccoed, frescoes added, many of which are still preserved from the 8th century. Even the ancient marble was repurposed into altars. We have amazing views of the church, including the ancient bronze doors, and even an impressive procession in various drawings and paintings. We can even see stairs leading down into the entryway as the ground level of the forum substantially rose over time. Still today, when we look at the Curia facade, we can see the slots added to the facade to accommodate burials. The ancient doors were finally moved to St. John Lateran under Alexander VII, and today the original copies pale in comparison with the originals. Fast forward to the 1930s. Mussolini, obsessed with Rome's imperial past, ordered the deconsecration and restoration of the Curia Julia, stripping away the years of religious decoration, returning it to a quote-unquote pure Roman form. It was propaganda. It was also preservation. And thanks to this, the Curia stands today as one of the most intact structures from the ancient city with a reconstructed roof. Let's take a tour of the Curia today. We can get views of the impressive 30-meter high structure from the front and from the side, from the remains of the Basilica Aemilia. We can even enter it from the rear through one of two smaller doors. We can admire the heavily restored late antique pavement and see the remains of the original marble veneer at the base of the walls. We also see a number of wall niches with Diocletian-era carved brackets for the partially preserved marble columns. In the niches are the remains of Byzantine-era frescoes. There are three other features in the Curia today as a museum space. We have the marble heads of the Parthian figures that once decorated the Basilica Aemilia, with the paint intact, dating to the Augustan age. There is this magnificent porphyry statue of a 2nd century AD emperor found behind the Curia in a hall adjacent, connected to the Forum of Caesar. And there are the so-called anaglypha Traiani, balustrades from a lost monument found during the Boni excavations in the Forum Piazza. They depict impressive scenes of the Forum, scenes of debt cancellation, and addresses to the public from the rostra, all in front of identifiable Roman buildings like the Basilica Julia. It's all part of your experience of the Curia Julia when you enter with your Forum Super Ticket. Ancient Rome Live is brought to you by the American Institute for Roman Culture. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Join our newsletter for more content and free lectures.